So today we're going to look at how we use the evidence and the annotations that we did in yesterday's lesson to make points to answer our question. So if you haven't done yesterday's lesson yet, you need to go back and do that in order to complete today's lesson. So in yesterday's lesson you looked at 5 to 6 quotations and annotated them in order to answer the question, how does the writer show Mike's fear and panic? And today what we're going to do is we're going to take those quotations and your ideas about them, and we're going to use them to make points. And to do that we're going to use this grid here, and one of these has been provided for you. So the first thing you need to do is to put your quotations into this evidence column here, and I'm going to show you 2 examples today. So the first quotation that I'm going to use that I worked on yesterday is this one here. His mouth, I think that's what it actually said, was already dry. Was already dry, his heart was pounding. Now yesterday when I did my annotations I picked out my words and phrases that I thought were most important, so I'm just going to pop those into this box here. So I've got my evidence, my quotation, I've got the key words or phrases that I looked at yesterday. Now I need to go to my notes, which I've got written on my piece of paper, to look at what it was I actually annotated around my quotation. And around my quotation I'd put that I could see that Mike's body was reacting to the fear. The fact that his mouth was dry and his heart was pounding showed that he was nervous, that he was fearful, and that his body was reacting in a way that showed that he was scared and panicked. So what I need to do now is I need to take those annotations and those ideas that I had yesterday, and I need to make them into a point that answers the question. Now when you're doing this, make sure that your point answers the question, how does the writer show Mike's fear and panic? And it might be that you have to rewrite your point several times before it really answers the question. So here is my point for this one. So I've put, the writer uses Mike's body to show that he's feeling scared and panicked. Does that answer my question? How does the writer show Mike's fear and panic? Yeah, fine. What's your evidence for that? My quotation here. And what are the key words or phrases from the quotation? That's in my 3rd box. And that's all that you are doing today. You're taking your evidence that you looked at yesterday and you are making points to match the evidence that answers our question, how does the writer show Mike's fear and panic? You're not working in the analysis column today, that will come in tomorrow's lesson. So let's just do another one together. My second quotation, my second piece of evidence is going to be, his wife could be made a widow, his children made fatherless. And that was one of the suggestions on the quotation sheet. Several of you may have used it. It doesn't matter if you haven't used it. There are lots of possible answers here. And my keywords that I annotated were widow and fatherless. Now, how does his wife could be made a widow and his children be made fatherless lead me to believe that Mike is in fear and that he's panicking? Well, it tells me that Mike's thinking that he may die because he's thinking about what might happen to his wife and to his children if he were not with them. So my point for that one is going to be, the writer uses Mike's thoughts to show that he's scared that he will be killed. Because he's thinking, isn't he, about what will happen if he's killed, what will happen to his wife and his children. One thing to just take into to bear in mind here is that I've made sure that I have used the words from the question in my points. Now, scared isn't in the question, but we spoke yesterday about how fear and panic have synonyms such as scared and worried. And if you check that you have used words from the question or synonyms from the question in your points, then you're pretty much guaranteed your point is going to be answering the question. One last example. My next piece of evidence is going to be not only from the side where he had seen them, but from the other also. And this talks about when Mike is surrounded by the men. My keywords here, just pop those in. And then my point. So in this quotation I can see that Mike is surrounded by the men, and he knows that there's no route for escape. So I've put, the writer shows that Mike is scared by showing that he's surrounded by men and he has little means of escape. And there is my word, my synonym, scared. So your task today is to fill in your version of this grid. I will leave these examples in for you so that you can so that you've got them to work from and that you can look at them alongside this video. And you're aiming to fill in now 2 to 3 pieces of evidence of your own and points to go with them.